Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Liners, series centered around key influencers and players within the performance marketing community. My name is Joey Liner of Liner Connections. Thank you all for attending and listening in. If you can, please like and subscribe my LinkedIn page and YouTube page because it does help me continue to grow the program. And the more subscribers I get, I appreciate. So thank you all for sharing. Today, I have a very special guest, someone who actually is in the same town as me now, but we're in different locations. We got connected about a year ago, and by our mutual friend Rachel John, Brittany Hawkins, the CEO of Ignite Media Group. Brittany, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Thanks, Joey. I'm great. How are you? I'm so excited to be here.
I know it isn't it funny. We thank you for coming. It's funny. We before we recorded, we're both in Carlsbad, California, which is thankfully a beautiful, amazing place in North San Diego. And we have some great weather and just, we're right down the street from each other, but we're not doing, we're both
That's
so busy.
nice.
We're doing this on Zoom, which I do with all the guests, but it's nice to know Brittany's local. And I met Brittany last year. I think we hit it off right away. We had a great lunch, just catching up. We're both kind of OGs within the space. And I was like, hey, I really want to be able to share your story on the show because the last guest I had, Erin Sigich, also another female CEO. It's just been an honor to be able to work and see both of you guys shine uh, in the performance marketing space and be great thought leaders. And I want you to be able to share your story today, Brittany. So tell us how you got into the performance marketing space. Like it's been a while, like so we're OGs, but like how'd you get into the performance marketing space?
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've been in the space. This is going to definitely date me. But back when I was done with college in 2007, like one of the best ways that you found a job locally was through Craigslist. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, it was crazy. So I found this ad. I was a business major with a marketing emphasis, and I had found an ad that said like, "Do you want to work with Fortune 500 brands? Do you love marketing?" And I was like, "Yes, yes." It didn't even have a company name in it. Just said, apply here. So I did. And I interviewed at a company called Frontline Direct,
Okay.
and they did email marketing. And so I started working there just a few weeks later as a marketing coordinator, ultimately transitioned to managing all of our US, Canadian, and UK accounts. So as an account manager. About a year in, a little over a year, I moved to the UK to do business development in London. And I had a team of account managers that I had trained to manage my US and Canadian accounts. And then I just kind of like did, I managed my UK clients during the day in London, and then I'd have like an afternoon evening shift to work with the team in San Diego on our US accounts. And so I did that a year, and that was
You
awesome.
lived in London?
Lived in London.
Wow. Did you
Yeah.
ever, does that part of your plan? Like, did you want it or that just happened because of the job was working
Yeah.
out? Like, did you have a
I
dream to live in London?
I'd gotten really lucky. My husband's in private equity, and he was working for a bank that was opening an office in London. And so I had known that that was like potentially an opportunity when I had first started at Frontline, but I didn't know when or where. And we were just a San Diego-based startup. But I want to say 6 months into me working at Frontline, we were acquired by a company based out of the UK. And
Okay.
so a year in, I had gone to our CEO, Kim Perrell, and said, I'm managing our UK business. I think there's a lot of opportunity out in the UK. I had a bunch of charts, I had a bunch of graphs. I said, I'd like to go out there, do business development, and do that for a year. And I will make sure the US business and Canadian business is still managed well. And she said, okay. And so she set me up to be able to move to London. So I moved to London to work for Frontline, and my husband moved to London to work for the bank that he was working for, and we came and went within 3 weeks of each other. So it was like very, I don't know, it like the stars aligned and
The
we both hit
stars
the
are
opportunity.
aligned. That's awesome.
Yeah, it
That
was
is so
amazing.
cool.
It was amazing. I
Wow.
tell
Okay.
everybody, like, you should go. If you have the opportunity, you should go. If I didn't have like a home and kids during the
Yeah.
pandemic, I would have for sure been in another country.
It's amazing, first of all, that you went to Craigslist. And I mean, at the time, like I said, Craigslist was very, very popular, like platform where people were, but there
Mhm.
were horror stories of, people like getting beat up and murdered and stuff. And so
Yeah.
like, I mean, it was but like,
There was like
who-
maybe there was Monster, and it was like you'd go to Monster and Craigslist. Like
yeah,
LinkedIn didn't have
yes,
job opportunities at the time.
yes,
LinkedIn was
that's
still
right.
new. So
Yes.
yeah, it was like
Amazing.
it was
What a
crazy.
drive.
I know.
Very,
Now
um,
now you'd only go to Craigslist for very different things. Um
yep. Yep.
yeah.
No, that's a really cool story. And the
Yeah.
drive to just, and that's kind of going to go into my next thought track here. Question is like, I can see how motivated, driven you were to succeed at that company for saying that you'd go stand up this business and go over to England. But
Mhm.
you over your career, you started off as a senior account executive, and to me, like you live the American dream. Like you've gone all the way to the top. You run your business now. You're a CEO. You have the drive to continue to succeed. Like a lot of people, like they're okay with staying as an account executive or growing and just content with, with that and there's their career path and great. But you got that hunger and drive to go all the way to CEO, which is awesome. So talk me through that. Like that's just an amazing
Yeah.
evolution.
Yeah. I mean, what I was exposed to within Frontline Direct, at Coney and Direct, Amobee, you know, was amazing because I started like we were the most startup-y of startups you could ever imagine. Like whoever was the closest person to the main phone picked it up and was like, Frontline Direct, this is Brittany. And HR was like very arbitrary at the beginning, and we had a part-time accountant, and it was just, it created really dynamic individuals because you each did everything. And I love that about startups.
Yeah.
And then we grew and we were acquired by bigger companies and expanded outside of email. And then we were acquired ultimately by Amobee, and then, Singtel. And Singtel is a very large public company out of Singapore. And so, I had the exposure of the startup spectrum to like the very corporate
Yeah.
public ownership spectrum, and had grown alongside that. And so I think with the opportunities that that brought, and, the success of our team and our division and our channel, more and more opportunities were available. And I just happened to be someone, I think, who, I don't know, I really like a challenge. I love to grow. I'm very curious. I love trying to do hard things and seeing if I can do it. And I've always gotten a lot of satisfaction from that. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs and instilled, like, in me to be a very hard worker and a desire to always do my best. And so I can't say when I was a kid, I was like, I want to grow up and own my own company. I don't think I ever really always said that. And I didn't say I want to be a performance marketer. Um, but it's the path that I found, and the path I'm so, so, so happy to have found. So it's been a pretty amazing journey.
Yeah, no, I'm sure your parents are super proud of you for what you've accomplished. And my mom also was she owned a ladies' clothing store, so I always give her credit. She brought me into retail and showed me connections with selling and relationships and her vendors, and I got to watch her in action. Just really motivated me to want to do more as well, right? And I think to
Mhm.
your point, you worked for that startup mentality where you got to wear multiple hats and you're observing how a team can work together and pick up roles and responsibilities for a company all to rise up and succeed together. And then the other side of the spectrum going to, a bigger corporate, environment where there's a lot more, and then seeing how, you build out departments and everybody has to interact and so forth. And so for you to be able um, to put all that together and say, hey, I can continue to be motivated to drive. I love what I do. I love uh, the business, and to see where you are today, it's awesome. Like it's been great to witness where what you've built and where you are today. Um, I wanted to ask you too, like, which actually you just brought up, like, so it was Frontline, and then there was a company in the middle, and then Amobee, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and so you were able to, in 2022, right? You hit a crossroads with kind of the direction of where the business was going to go under Amobee, right? And so, talk us through that, how you were able to build out Ignite from Amobee.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the company transitions and the acquisitions, it was really nice to see acquisitions firsthand and, have a front row seat to those.
Yeah.
And so I could see the evolution of our team and our division within the company, and then the company overall and how it grew. Um, and so, 2022, we basically had Amobee, which had its own ad platform, its own DSP. And then the other side of our business was our performance marketing business. And it was, I'd say like our legacy business, because it was like 3 acquisitions prior, basically, was like that business I started with, that then evolved into the performance marketing arm of Amobee. And so, I think what was a large trend at the time was telcos acquiring, either ad tech or a digital arm of their business. You had Amobee, or you had AT&T that bought and sold Time Warner Media.
Yeah.
Verizon bought and sold Yahoo. Singtel, another telco, I think like the second largest globally at the time, ultimately bought and then was selling Amobee. And so Tremor International acquired the DSP, like the technology portion of the business. And then I started Ignite Media Group and acquired the performance marketing division from Singtel.
Wow. And like, um, how did it's just fascinating. Like, because like you said,
Yeah.
M&A, we're surrounded, I lived a lot of that through when I was at DMS, and we did so many different deals, and just there's
Yeah.
a lot that goes on with due diligence and still trying to run the business. Like,
Yes.
what clicked for you where that was like an opportunity for you to do that? Like, and how do
Yeah.
you get all that done? Like, it's so pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really wild times. It was a lot of work.
And keep
But
your team together, right? You kept a lot of the
it
team
was
together. Yeah.
really successful. Yeah, 100% of our employees stayed, 100% of our clients stayed, and the transaction was insanely fast. It was about 5 weeks from start to finish.
Whoa.
I was really lucky in that the due diligence was on a business that I had been running for several years prior. So I
Yeah.
knew exactly what I was buying. I knew the
Amen.
business inside and out. Any other transaction with another buyer, it would have looked very different. It would have been much longer. But I fortunately like knew the ins and outs of the business I was buying, and I knew that we were great at what we did. My team is like the best team in the business. Our
Yeah.
clients are fantastic. And so it was never like, I'd never even questioned, like, should I do this? It was more of like, can I do this in the time frame I need to do it in? Because I needed to complete my transaction before Tremor could then complete their transaction.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Sequential.
and
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, because both were happening simultaneously.
Wow.
And it worked out for Singtel because I did know the business so well.
Yeah.
And it worked out for me because they were, they needed and wanted to sell the business as well. So, all things considered, we partnered really well in the transaction. And it definitely served both of us well, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's like standing up an entire company to be independent from what we were. We had to solve for everything you
Yeah.
could gov. It's everything back office that a full large company already services, like we then had to do independently. So, legal, compliance, accounting, finance, HR
Amazing.
and benefits. And, we had open enrollment day one. We had, getting new bank accounts set up, like everything you could think
Gotcha.
of, had to be done basically like yesterday. So it
Wow.
it
It's
was a lot, but it was
really
amazing. I would do
fascinating.
it again. I would do it again in a second.
Congratulations. I mean, and that's awesome to hear because you learned so much as you were going through it. Like I said, everything had to get done yesterday, but you
Yeah.
had that you had to move so fast. Getting a transaction done, and like you said, obviously you knew you ran the business due diligence under the hood. You knew all the
Mhm.
operations, the flow, everything. But still, to get a transaction done is like climbing a huge mountain.
Yeah.
There's so
And they're
many
in
things that can
Singapore.
go wrong,
Yeah.
right?
There's
You
so
know?
much. And they're in Singapore. And so everything you're
Oh,
doing is kind of like in the middle of the night. And they have their teams and their bankers and their legal teams, and I have my legal teams. And so, and then, yeah, and the business is still running. Like you are still running the business as though this is not happening. And so, um, it's like, I can laugh now looking back at
yeah.
this, but like the only bank that could even literally get us go through like the KYC, the know your customer process fast enough was Silicon Valley Bank. And that was a lesson learned in and of itself a year later when they went
Yeah.
under. And
Yeah.
so we had one PEO that could onboard us and process paychecks within California law that fast. So like there was literally all of these things that like you're working, time was really the only thing we were working against. Like we had vetted all of the partners we wanted to and all of the different, the fractional models or the other clients that we were
Yeah.
bringing on board to support the back end of the business. And then there's like, can you also do this in 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 1 month? And, that was the hardest part and out of our control.
And I'm sure your staff just appreciated you keeping as much of like as normalcy as possible. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that are going, chaotically around there. But you have to keep everybody
Yeah.
in focused on, running the business and growth and tremendous look for what today to 2024, right? You've had some great growth since I've met you. Like you're doing an amazing job building
Yeah.
out the business. What's really now that you have built it now under your leadership and you've pulled it out, and what's it feel like you have your own, what's the mission kind of and the vision for you to build out Ignite?
Yeah. We just recently went through this as a company and really like went back to what our mission, vision, values are
Yeah.
and how we feel like they hold for us today. So truly, our mission is to transform everyday consumers into valuable customers through a people-centric and data-driven approach. And our vision is to be the trusted leader in performance marketing for the nation's largest brands. And that's something that has held true for us for years.
Love it.
It's always been our approach and always been our goal. And what we felt like we were, very good at inside the digital marketing world. And so, it was nice that it still rang true after all these years. And when we were really like narrowing it down of like, what is it? What is our mission? What is our vision? We kept coming back to this as like, no, this is it for us.
That's awesome. And it's great. Like I said, exactly what you need to do and what the whole group around you needs to do to be successful. So
Yeah.
it's what you've been
And
doing forever.
it can be like our gut check. Like, does this align with our
Yes.
mission vision? Like our mission vision,
Yes.
core values. If this does not align, like there's a million opportunities out there. And if they don't align with those two, it doesn't mean we should say yes. Like it's like
Yes.
hardest to say no and figure out what to say no to. But it's a really good gut check of like, does this serve our purpose and our mission and vision?
It's a good gut. I agree. I've been part of
Um,
meetings, part of association now where we're looking around. Uh, it's called Reach, Responsible Enterprise Against Consumer
yeah.
Harassment, and sometimes we can go off in our meetings, we can go off on a tangent, and Adam Young, CEO of Rainbow, will come back and say, does this align with our vision? And he'll read it out and it's like, oh shit, maybe he's right.
He's like, we've
So,
deviated too far. We need to go back.
exactly. And it's good. It's good because it's even simple to have the wording out just so everybody can see it, right? So it's like we subscribe to this. This is how we're going to grow and unite and bond as a company and grow. And so
Mhm.
where are you guys focusing? We're almost halfway through 2024. It's crazy. You and I were just talking about our kids are about to get out of school. Uh, where are you guys trying to focus on now for the end of the year, and then kind of carrying some momentum into 2025 to keep up the growth?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's a lot we're still working on. Time goes by, truly goes by so fast. Like we were on an all hands meeting today and it's just 4 days into June feels like, I don't know where 2024 has gone.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
and so yeah, we're working on a few different things. I think probably what everybody will say is looking at how they can leverage AI.
Yeah,
We're definitely looking at like how can we incorporate that into our day to day?
yeah,
What can we do with it? How can we create operational efficiencies with that? So that's definitely, a focus of the business.
yeah.
We're also interested in channel expansion. We historically have been, like an email only or email primary operation,
Hmm.
but looking to see where we can expand in other performance channels. And then, part of the acquisition was also a lot of opt-in consumer data. And so looking at ways that we can, leverage some of that email data and consumer profiles for, maybe some internal media buying or distribution.
Yeah, to me that all makes sense just from the outside. I mean, diverse. I mean, email is such a great channel. I'm preaching to the choir because I know you've lived it for so long, but I only learned it, really when I came on to DMS, because prior to that I was in the call center world, and
Mm.
I learned the team at W4 just taught me so much about how effective, and then I saw brands loved it.
Yeah,
And so I'm sure you guys continue to expand different verticals, and but being able to do it through different potential channels is great to expand your relationships that you've already built and trust that you guys know how to work and optimize performance marketing campaigns. So and everybody always wants to find out how they can get more out of their data warehouse, and be
yeah,
smarter with what they've brought in, and really what consumers, will respond to, and how captive they will be, and what they're doing. So it sounds
exactly.
like got a good roadmap there for some growth ahead.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I know it's awesome. I know you just brought on Deanna, Milky, who I used to work with at DMS. Great friend. I'm so happy that she joined your business, and
she's
um
incredible.
you guys have a great team, and it's just a testament to what you did to build this business and being a great leader. So like I asked this question to Aaron too, because you do you feel this growing up in the space? You and I've been doing this a long time. It's to me, I never saw a female CEO for 10 years. I don't know how long it's been. So like
Mhm.
it's amazing to see what you've done, Brittany. And I hope that you've taken some time to recognize what you have been able to do for yourself. But like, do you know that a lot of women look up to you and see that you actually went from account executive all the way to CEO? Like, how do you bear that amazing weight and responsibility to know that you're empowering women to continue to grow? And I know I'm in Link Unite as an advisor, a male advisor, but
Yeah,
um, you've joined and you're making such a great influence with a lot of women that are growing within the program as well. So I know I just asked you a bunch, but please, I'll shut up
yeah,
now, and I want to hear what you have to say.
yeah. Um, I mean, I probably don't spend any time thinking about it. Because I don't know why. I guess I never had the impression that women shouldn't be there. you definitely see that there's not a lot of women there, but I think like I had the opposite of experience than you did. Like I grew up and my mom owned her own businesses and my dad
Yeah.
owned his own businesses. And so
Yes.
I saw women working and saw women being successful like my whole childhood. And then when I started working at Frontline, our CEO was a woman, Kim Perrell, and
Nice.
our SVP was Amanda Curry. And those were my two kind of like bosses I always had throughout my career. I didn't have a male, and even when Singtel acquired us, Singtel had a female CEO, which was
Wow.
really unusual at that time. And so I actually did not have a male CEO until 2020 was the first time that I'd had a male CEO.
Whoa.
So it was, a little bit of a flipped script, I guess I'd say, of
It's amazing
what
though.
people's normal experiences. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I I just never really thought that much about it. I think like, and it's probably because for so long I did feel very empowered and very inspired by women that that I had spent time with or who I looked up to, who were my direct bosses or, the CEO of our company. And, I think what's like really unique and special at Ignite is that, and this is not by design, it's just by
Yeah.
like the best people for this job, but our entire leadership is women as well. Our leadership team are women. Um,
Unbelievable.
and they're just like, they're incredible people who have risen to all of the challenges. They've proven themselves as leaders, like in the company and in the space. They embrace challenges, they're dynamic, they're exceptional at what they do. And so it was never this cognizant effort of like, you know, we need only women here and only women in the leadership team. It's just who really rose to the challenge and like set themselves apart. And that's been really incredible to see. Um, I will say something that I think resonated with me was an article I read last year, and it was released by Forbes. And it was an article about how they don't need a mentor, they need a champion. And I thought that was such an important distinction because a mentor, they can talk to you and maybe, inspire you and, give you a pep talk if you need it. But like a champion is very action oriented. A champion will like put their name out for you, put their neck out for you. They will say like, this is, here's what you need to do to move forward. You need to, here's where you should think about this. Here's how you
Yeah.
should try to take on the next opportunity. And I think that framing of a champion over a mentor was like just like really valuable. And that's, of all the things I do think about, that's partly it is like, how can you be a champion for the women in your team, for the men in our team, for people to grow, but also the other, other women in the industry. Because I think what I learned while starting Ignite was people are so happy to help. They want to share their opinions, they want to share their expertise, they want to tell you how they did what they did. And so when I'm faced with a challenge, I will literally be like, I'm going to phone a friend. Who do I know who's done this? Or who has maybe done this? Or who could probably, give me a list of people that they'd recommend I'd talk to? And I'll just call and ask. And I've never had someone say, like, I don't really want to share that, or I'm not willing to have this conversation. And so if I can do that for anybody who needs me and I could be their champion, whether it's, in our company or in the space or outside of it or anywhere, like really happy to do that and see other people grow.
Because the last part you said, sadly, I know you see this other side because I do think your track is so unique in what uh, you've been able to work with so many women that have been leaders and probably champions, but when you talked about a couple minutes ago about looking for advice and that you did that it was really receptive and that like you actually see a lot of men give unsolicited advice, and they tell women what to do. And it's just, I'm glad, I'm hopeful that you didn't have to experience that. But sadly, what I've witnessed in the performance marketing community is way too much. And I know that happens well beyond in all of corporate America, but um, men take they feel the need to be in control and to tell women what to do. And one of the main reasons why I am part of Link Unite is I'm fed up with it. I want to see a lot more Brittany Hawkins out there shining and being able to grow a business with good work ethic. And like you
Yeah,
said, the female leadership team that you've established is because they do an amazing job of executing and working together and knowing what they need to do to help you build the business. Um,
yeah.
but I had no
And
idea that you, yeah, go ahead.
well, I would say to that that, like the discrimination, the sexism, the harassment, like that is very real and that does
Yeah,
happen. And I think that like fuels me. Like that is what is like, okay, well, let me like I'll show you we could do that. Or,
I
that
love it.
this that I think is like where it does happen. It's real. We've terminated partnerships because of it.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Good,
not something that we're willing to deal with. Um, and also it just like lights a fire.
good, good. And I can see it. I can definitely see it because it's evident in your success, my friend. So,
Yeah.
uh, well, awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. And
Yeah.
any women that are out there listening to this that, are inspired by Brittany's story, come join us, Link Unite. We're growing.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing community of women that continue to support each other for growth and success. And feel free to reach out and ask us any questions. We'd love to be able to help. Um, you did have an offsite. You just talked about it. You guys had an offsite. Being a remote has its advantages. Obviously, your staff probably enjoys the being able to work from where they live and so forth. And I know a lot of folks that we work with are around Southern California, but you guys just had an offsite. So how do you go about building out, like you talked about, you probably had a section where you were doing your mission and vision alignment, but how do you go about kind of like the infrastructure for building out and offsite, maximizing the time together with the team because it's so valuable, right?
Yeah, it is really valuable. It's not a perfect science, but we've got it down pretty well at this point. Um, we are fully remote. And so when we were looking at how to maintain like connection between the team and then also hiring and have the new hires be able to meet
Yeah.
the team and get everybody in the same place at the same time, we really landed on quarterly offsites. So wherever you are in the country, you come in town for 2 days for our offsite. And we usually cover a few different pieces. We usually cover like the previous quarter's business review, what our current company initiatives are, whether that's quarterly or for the year. Twice yearly, we do a team volunteer event.
It's awesome.
Once a year, we do like a family fun day. And then we usually have a component of every offsite that has some piece of professional development. So we'll bring in coaches or people that are incredible at building teams and doing team building exercises, or helping people facilitate like a DISC assessment. And then how can you use that DISC assessment to understand who you are and how you like to be worked with and how you can work with other people on the team.
Love that.
That was great. But really, we look to incorporate like those different variables of like the team getting together, reflection on the business and how we can grow and what we can do and what opportunities or challenges are present. And then, professional development, like how can we all grow as a team and individuals together? So those are like the primary components of the offsites.
Yeah.
But it's great. And then on monthly, we do third Thursdays, which is really for anybody in Southern California, just to get together once a month and do happy hour or do
Oh,
lunch.
wow.
Yeah, so that's awesome too, just to have a few more ways that we can see each other's face rather
Yeah.
than like through video calls all day, every day.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just the human connection so valuable. For you guys are grinding, you're working so hard all the time. So just being able to connect and I love you know, I love for you to be able to bring in some, to invest into the people. Our businesses are all
Yeah,
about the success of our people. And I'm sure they appreciate you doing these events to be able to do that, and we all get to learn from it. So it's really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, you'll probably be out at Affiliate Summit East. I'm assuming that's a pretty big show. Is that,
Yeah.
it's
So
crazy.
we
We're coming up to the
have,
second half of the year. Tell me about what you got, where you guys are going to be.
yeah, the first half of the year is much busier than the second half, I'd say, in terms of conferences.
Yeah.
But we have two, maybe three people at Link Unite at the end of this month, which is in Nashville this year, which is so
Yep.
fun. I'll
Yes.
be out of town, so I can't go, but we have a few people representing, which will be awesome.
Nice. Awesome.
Deanna will be out there, Chelsea Denning
Oh,
will be out
wow.
there,
Cool.
and maybe Jessica Thompson from our team. So that'll be great. And Link Unite's been fantastic. Like Sarah and
Yeah.
Amanda have done such a great job, and it's nice to see. Um, it's hard to believe there hasn't been like a solid group for women in marketing and performance marketing until they started Link Unite, but it was, overdue. Like they've done such a great job
Amazing.
in
It
creating a great
is.
community and providing a lot of value. And just having like a place and an organization for all the women in the space, because there is a lot more women today than there were when I started,
Yes.
and that is so nice to see. So
Amen.
yeah, so they've done incredible things. So we have a team going to Link Unite, and then yes, ASE at the end of July, and that'll be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're
Awesome.
really looking
Good.
forward to it.
Good. Yeah. That's all the affiliate space is the just continuing to grow. And I think it will
Yeah,
continue to grow with the new FCC ruling kicking into effect, where brands can have even more control of the consumer coming to their flow, versus them having to buy brokered leads or leads in the marketplace. So I think there's still tremendous opportunities to grow within email and other channels, like you mentioned. Um, so, uh, what predictions do you have? Like, give me a prediction that you have, like, for, like, you talked about AI, right? I think everybody's trying to,
yeah,
there's different ways, there's some people that are using for conversational AI with the consumer, right? I think some people are trying to use it within their ads and creative and just like using it at the right time, the right place, the right demo. And then there's people trying to incorporate it into their business operations. So like, but you don't have to give me an AI prediction. I'd say what is like something that we can come back to a year from now and be like, Brittany said.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is like Scott Galloway predictions. Um, yes, I mean, yeah, AI would be the obvious one. So outside of AI, you know, it's funny because I think for years and almost since I got into the industry, I feel like I've been hearing this is like the death of email.
Yeah.
And yet email is a really, really robust channel, and it always wins and it always
Yes.
comes back. And it's
Yes.
like it's just this underappreciated
I
and under
know.
recognized, I think, channel for advertisers,
Yeah.
but also even variable in a consumer profile, like with cookie deprecation and the importance and the rise of first party data. Email is still the original killer app. I think it will be for quite some time. I don't see an end to that. And I think people will invest, heavily into the space and into the data.
Amen. Amen. I hope you're right too, because I love educating brands on, especially when they're not using email. Like you and
Yeah,
I've talked about this before. It's just so nice to be able to tell them how effective and high intent a consumer can be compared to like search. Obviously, that's typically number one, but
yeah,
working your way, I mean, email is pretty much up there as number two. I mean, it's like, so I
definitely.
love sharing the success and continue. And when I see somebody new get signed up for it, it's like it's awesome. So I agree with you.
Yeah,
No death of email. Uh,
there's no death of email.
no death of email. So we got the summer coming up here. What do you like before we wrap up here? Tell us like a little bit about, it's obviously a lot being a CEO. You got a ton of responsibilities of running the business. You got a family. Like, what do you like to, we live in a great community. Thankfully, we can be outdoors. What do you love to do in your
Yeah,
time outside of the grind?
yeah. So my kids are 5 and 8. Veta's 5, Knox is 8. So we spend a lot of our weekends going to birthday parties, sporting events, games.
Yes.
That probably takes like most of the weekend.
Yeah.
Outside of, hanging with the family, I love to just I love to travel. I love to read. I love listening to podcasts, hanging out at our pool, going to the beach, just relaxing. I think the weeks are very stressful and very busy, and you're just moving at 100 miles an hour all of the time. And
Yeah.
so the weekends, I think my body knows that I've just spent too much time during the week, doing all
Yeah.
the other things. And then it just is we just need to relax and
Good.
have a slow speed. So,
Good.
so yeah,
You
that's
have that
really,
switch. You're just able to know that it kicks it because
Mhm.
yeah, I mean our success is around our stability and our mental health. Like we want it, and we have
Yeah,
families that put a lot of pressure on us. We got become Uber drivers a lot of time, taking our kids everywhere. I don't know
yeah,
if you saw Uber just released Uber Teen, so I'm looking
yeah,
into it for for my teenagers.
totally.
So
Yeah,
take them everywhere.
right. Yeah,
It's
you're their
crazy.
chauffeur now is your second job.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true. But
yeah,
yes, I hope you do get to I hope you do get to take in I'm glad you like to travel, and I know you like to eat, you and I are foodies, we like to eat good food. It's just but
yeah,
you're working so hard, you got to just enjoy being present, especially on the
yeah.
weekends, and take it in with your family. And
Yeah. And I think it's
you're
it's
yeah,
really important to decompress every day. And especially you and me, we both work from home. Like when I'm not working, I'm my commute is my walk downstairs. And that's a hard, when we were in the office, and I
yeah,
do love working from home, but there was a drive there and a drive home. You could have the moment to
it's
decompress. There was a different place than you were working, than you were living. And so, I think having that time at the end of my day to decompress and, whether that is reading or podcasting or watching Netflix, I
yeah,
really think that's such an important part of maintaining mental sanity.
amen,
Yeah.
amen. Well, Brittany, you are an amazing human. You keep continuing to shine and lead, and taking us to a whole nother level. Especially, email is your baby, but I know there's a lot more that's going to come out of Ignite. But I'm really grateful for you sharing your journey with us, and it's just been an amazing build to where you are today, and I can't wait to see what's ahead of you. But thank you for coming on, my friend.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. This was such a fun conversation. Thanks for being interested and inviting me on. This was fantastic. I had so much fun.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Brittany.